Today's learning target is I can find the volume of pyramids, cones, and spheres. So today we're going to talk about the volume of pyramids. And the volume of pyramids is going to be directly related to the volume of prisms. Okay, and that relationship is going to be if you have a pyramid like we have in here, it's always going to have a volume that's 1/3 the volume of a prism with the same base. So here's a prism, okay, and the pyramid is inside of that. And that pyramid, the volume of it is going to be 1/3 of the volume of the prism. So our formula to find the volume of a pyramid is going to be the volume is going to be 1/3 of the big B, remember that's the area of the base, and times it by the height. So let's find the volume of this pyramid right here. So we're going to start out with our formula. The volume equals 1/3 of the big B, so the area of the base, times the height. So first thing we're going to do is we need to figure out the area of the base of this. I can see it's a triangular base. So I'm going to plug in the formula for the area of a base for the big B. So now I've gotten my formula here for the triangle, and I'm going to take a look now. If you see, so here's my triangle, and the base on this triangle is going to be right here, and I can see that measurement is 8 centimeters, and the height is going to be right here. Now it's a little difficult to tell, but I was able to figure this was the height because there's the right angle, right? And so the height is always on a right triangle. It's always going to be touching the right angle. Okay, here's the hypotenuse. That's not going to be the height. So I've got height here. I've got the base here. So I've plugged in those numbers for the triangle right here. And I also plugged in my height. Now remember, this is the height of the entire pyramid. So to find that, the height is always going to go from the vertex straight down. You can see it's shown by this right angle. That shows me that this line is straight down. So my height of the pyramid is 5 centimeters. So I plug that in there. Now, order of operation tells me I'm going to solve the parentheses first. So 6 times 8 is 48. And half of that is 24. Okay, and then times it by 5 1/3. Okay. Now, 24 times 5 gives me 120, and I'll take 1/3 of that. And then remember, when we do this, we can simplify. So 3 goes into both those, and when I multiply, I just go across. So that's going to give me my volume is going to equal 40, and remember my label is centimeters cubed. All right, let's find the volume of a cone now. We're going to start off with the same formula for finding the volume of a cone, where we're going to use volume equals 1/3 big B times h. Remember, big B is going to be the area of the base. Now in this case, the base is a circle. So if you remember, to find the area of a circle, the big B, the base, pi r squared is what we would use. Okay? So our formula for finding the volume of a cone really becomes 1/3 the big B, which is pi r squared, times the height. Alright, so here we have a cone, and let's find the volume of this cone. We're going to start by using our formula and writing that down first. The next thing I'll do here now is to plug in my numbers into my formula here. So I have 1/3 pi r, the radius, is going to be 5 millimeters, so I'm going to plug in 5 there, and the height, I can see from the vertex straight down, is going to be 7 millimeters. And when I put in my radius, you can see that I squared it. My radius was 5, so squared would be 25. And so now I'm going to multiply this out. So I multiplied 7, 25, and 3.14, and I got 549.5. Now remember, if I'm solving this with a calculator, this now becomes 549.5 over 3, right? Because when I multiply, I would just multiply across. And so on my calculator, I do 549.5 and divide it by 3. And the answer I got when I rounded to the nearest tenth was 189.2 cubic millimeters. Now we're going to find the volume of a sphere. Now the volume of a sphere, the formula for the volume of a sphere seems very strange, but I'm going to show you why this formula is used. So the volume of a sphere is 4/3 pi r cubed. So if we were finding the area of this circle, okay, the base here of this cylinder, it's going to be the same as the area right here of the sphere, of the center part of the sphere. So we know that to find the area, we're going to do volume equals big B times H, and the big B here is going to be the area of this circle. So we know that's going to be, to find the area of the circle, pi r squared. And now we're going to times it by the height. Now the height of this is always going to be twice the radius, right? Because the radius is going to go from the middle point to the outside, right? So that would be the radius here. So then going up here, a cylinder would be twice the radius, right? You can kind of see that right here. The cylinder would go from the top point of the sphere to the bottom point of the sphere. So it's going to be 2 times the radius. Now this, when I write it out, essentially becomes this. I can combine my like terms. So I have r squared plus, or times r. It's going to be r to the third power. So when I'm writing this, I can do 2 pi r cubed. And now a sphere fills up 2/3 of a cylinder. So it's going to be 2/3 times 2 times pi times r cubed. And now when I multiply these together, I get 4/3 pi r cubed. Now if your head is a little dizzy after that explanation, the most important thing is just knowing that this formula right here is used to find the volume of a sphere. I just wanted to explain why this formula was used. So to find the volume of this sphere, I just start out with my formula. Okay, I've got that. Now I see my radius is 8 inches, so I'm just going to plug that number in. Now once I do that and I've plugged in my numbers, don't forget I have to cube this. So we've been using squared. Make sure you cube it. So this is 8 times 8 times 8. And so when I cube 8, I get 512. Now I can just multiply 512 times pi times 4 and then divide it by 3, right? Because when I multiply across. And once I calculated this out, I got 2,144 7/10 cubic inches. Now, this answer is about 1 off of what you would see the answer in the book. And the reason for that is I used the pi key, and the book just used 3.14 for pi. But we know when we use the pi key in the calculator, it brings pi out more than just 3.14. So as you're looking at answers, if you find that you're like 1 off or 7/10, 8/10, that's going to be okay. It just means you used a more specific number for pi. If you want to get the number that the answer that's in the answer key, you'll want to use 3.14. But either way is okay.